Hello. And today I'm going to be doing a whisper ramble story time. I hope you guys like these types of videos, and if you do, I would totally be okay with doing like a whole series of like different whisper rambles. I'm gonna call this video, I think, Tingles and Tea, because I'm gonna try and give you tingles while I spill the tea about my life. So with that, let's get into it. Today I'm gonna be telling you guys a story about how my friend stole from me. They're no longer my friend anymore, obviously, but the situation and how I found out, because I didn't find out the truth about it for like years. So I was still friends with this person for years until I found out. So we'll chat about what happened, and how I ended up finding out, because I did some investigating. So with that, let's begin. So, little background, because you're gonna need it. This friend, I'm gonna use different names, not because I think they would even see this, nor do I care, but it just seems like the respectful thing to do, because there's other people involved, as well, but, I'm gonna name this friend Bob. So, Bob, I was friends with Bob because we went to elementary school together. So my group of friends, to this day, we all went to elementary school. Elementary school together. So Bob was in my friend group because Bob was friends with, all these other people from elementary school and my husband. Yes, I met my husband in elementary school. We were friends. So, obviously, all of my friends hung out with me and my husband. So, I think we were 18 or 19 at this point. So, like, lifelong friends. We grew up together. We've all known each other since we were like little kids. It wasn't like just some random, person I met later in life and we weren't friends for a really long time. And they did this. It was like a lifelong friend who was not only friends with me, but like best friends with my husband. So we went to this place to go swimming. It's like a quarry. Like public, like anyone could go there and swim. So the water is very deep. There's no shallow end. It's just deep water. Deep water. So I jumped into the water and I was swimming. And I noticed that I still had my rings on. And these rings, the one was my promise ring that my husband bought me at the time. My promise ring. And then the other ring was a birthstone ring that my mother bought me. My mother, whichever, that my mom bought me for my birthday. And I never took these things off, but I was so scared that they were gonna fall in the water because they were a little loose on me at the time. They were a little loose. So I was so scared that my rings were gonna fall off. So Bob was at the shore because he didn't want to jump into the water, which is fine. So I saw Bob there, and my husband had his cap shore. And so I took off my rings and I put them in my husband's hat. So that they wouldn't fall in the water. So Bob was there on the shore with his girlfriend at the time. I'm gonna call her Bobette. So Bob and Bobette were on the shore. I hope this is making sense. And they were going to walk back to our car. This is important to the story. We took two cars because we were like 18 or 19 at the time. Me and my husband were the only one of our friends to have our own vehicles. So I drove my car and I took some people to the quarry. And then my husband drove his car. So we took my car, and we took my husband's car. So, this is important to the story. But Bob and Bobette were going to walk back to where we parked our cars. And we were still swimming, so they offered to take my husband's hat with my rings in it up to the car, which I was okay with, so that I didn't have to worry about constantly checking to make sure no one was touching my stuff. So Bob and Bobette took the hat and they walked to the cars. So we swam, whatever. I forgot about it. We were all hanging out by the cars because how it works at this quarry was like there was like cliffs and you could park your car along the cliffs and you can like hang out and stuff around the water. So we went back to our cars, went on about our day, you know, doing whatever, and then we left. So I got in my car and my husband got in his car. Bob and Bobette went in my husband's car. I don't remember who was in my car, but I had a couple of my our friends in my car. And I remember we left and we're driving home and I'm like, oh shoot, I don't have my rings because I can see them while I'm driving. And I notice I don't have them on. So I call my husband and I'm like, hey, I called him on the phone. And I was like, hey, when you, where did you have my rings? Because, I assumed he put his hat on to drive. And he was like, your rings weren't in my hat. I thought you took them. And I was like, no. What the heck? I'm freaking out at this point. So I drove at the time. Obviously we were younger, so we both lived with our parents. So I drove to my husband's mom's house where he went back to with all of our friends. And we searched his car and we searched my car just in case. And we couldn't find these rings. And my husband was adamant, 100% adamant that they were not in his hat when he picked it up and put it on his head. They were not there. I called the quarry because they have workers and stuff there just to see if anyone brought back any rings, and they said no. So I was like, okay, it's gone. This is, and then after we were already looking and I'm like, oh my god, they're gone. What the heck, right? Bob chimes in and is like, oh, when I brought the hat up, I did accidentally knock it over, but I didn't think about the rings. I just picked up the hat someone of theft without any proof, because that just seems, innocent until proven guilty. Innocent until proven guilty. So we just continued to be friends with them, but I obviously was a little bit more, I didn't want to leave anything around Bob or Bobette, which sucks when, they're supposed to be your friends, and you feel like you can't even trust them to leave your things around them, because I was 99% sure that he took them, just because I don't know, his story wasn't adding up, and just the way he was acting just kind of seemed a little suspicious. Just like the Cardi B meme, that's suspicious. He was just acting really suspicious. But again, I had no proof, so I didn't want to end a friendship. And it wasn't just my, friendship. He was friends with my husband, so it was a little bit complex in that sense. My husband did ask him if he took them or if Bobette took them, and he was just covering because, that's an awkward place to be if your girlfriend stole from your friend, and then you have to, you know what I mean? It's an uncomfortable situation to be in. So my husband did ask him, and he denied it. So, yeah, denied. Neither him or Bobette took the rings, apparently, which I know is not true, but, anyway, yeah, so years go by. We're still kind of, friends with him. We see him, at, group events and stuff like that. We didn't have, a falling out. We just, distanced ourselves from him a bit, but we still hung out with him quite a bit, just, I did not want him coming over to our house, when we moved in together and stuff, and, things like that. But then Bob and Bobette broke up, and it was a messy breakup. It was, super messy. It was crazy. So I waited a bit, because I was like, you know what? Bobette did not like Bob at this point. It was not, a good breakup. I can probably find information out. So, at this point, I think it was 2 or 3 years after the incident happened, I messaged Bobette. I reached out to Bobette, just being hey girlie, girl to girl, what happened? I lied. I told her that I was hearing rumors that, he, Bob, stole my rings to try and make money off of it. I made that up. Because I feel why else would you steal something anyway? It's to probably sell it. So I lied, and when I messaged her, I just said, hey, I heard a rumor that Bob stole my rings, and he's tried to, he stole them for money, he was trying to pawn them and stuff. though she didn't want to get involved in it, but she said that she didn't actually see him take the rings. She didn't see him take the rings, but when they got home that night, he had the rings on him, and he pulled them out of his sock. She even told me what foot. She was like, he had this ring, and she described it to me. And then she's like, described the other ring to a T. And she's like, he pulled it out of his left sock. And I like remember this. This was so long ago now though, but she's like, I saw him like pull it out of his sock. I saw him pull it out of his sock. And she said she asked him about it, and he told her that she couldn't say anything. She couldn't say anything to us. She couldn't say anything to us because she would ruin the friendship. And he was hurting for money. So he took them to try and sell it for money. Specifically, are you ready for this? She told me that he was trying to trade the rings. How do I say this in a friendly way on YouTube? He was trying to trade my rings for the devil's lettuce. This man was so broke that he stole my rings so that he could try and trade them in to like a dealer or anyone that, you know, like had stuff on them, because he was desperate and couldn't afford any devil's lettuce. It's not funny, but like I have to laugh about it now because it's like, dude, that's just like crazy to me that you are willing to risk 2 friendships with people that you've been friends with since elementary school because you want some devil's lettuce and you couldn't afford it. Whatever. So yeah, she told me all of this, and she said she felt horrible about it, and now that they weren't together anymore, like she didn't have to keep it a secret. And she just said she hoped that I wasn't mad at her about it, and you know, I told her, like, you know, it's over and done with. I know I wasn't gonna get them back. I just wanted the truth. And I wasn't mad at her. And you know, like, we're good, because at least when I asked her about it, after the fact, it was after the fact, but you know, like, she was truthful and gave me all of the details, you know, which was more than he ever did. And he was our friend. She owed me nothing, right? Like, so yeah. Unfortunately, there's no like ending to this, in the sense of like, I don't think he knows that I know, if that makes sense. Like, even after she told me, like, again, we have mutual friends because we all like grew up together, so we still saw him and stuff at like events, and I never said anything to him. Neither did my husband. Neither of us even like asked him about it, addressed it, told him that we knew. I was just like, you know what? The fact that I know this information is enough for me. It's not worth the drama. Plus, that sounds really mature of me to say that it's like, you know, not worth the drama. But then like, there's like the petty side of me that I'm like, I know something that like you think is a secret, and like that makes me feel great, you know, that like I know that's so bad, but you hid this from me for years. You hid this from me thinking that I don't know, but I know now, and I know the truth. that's a sad situation, because even if we didn't have the falling out for whatever reason that we had the falling out, we wouldn't have been friends with him after I obviously found out. After I found out that, you know, you literally stole from me. So, it is what it is. It is what it is, but, yeah, that is the story about my friend that stole my rings and tried to pawn it off for devil's lettuce. Yeah, I don't recall. I think he did sell them to somebody. I can't recall that, but obviously they were gone. So I don't know where he sold them. I don't know how much he got for them. They weren't like value-wise. They were obviously more valuable, sentimentally, like to me, because my mom bought me the one, and then the other one was my promise ring from my husband. So they meant more to me than they were like worth money-wise, if that makes sense. So it is what it is. It is what it is. But I hope you enjoyed this chit-chat. I definitely can do more of these. That was like mild in the sense of all the stuff that has probably happened. I have stories on stories about crazy things that happen. So that is like on a scale of like 1 to 10 of like crazy, like a 2 maybe. It is. So I can definitely spill more tea, spill more